Thanks a lot. And thank you very much, DC Books, for enabling this conversation, I think, which is long overdue. I am so delighted to be, sharing thoughts and introducing important figures in the South Indian context of translation. So it's really, I think, that those of us who write in Indian languages come together, and even more rare that we South Indian languages come together like that. But before I, just to share a few thoughts, hoping that they will shape this conversation. Frankly, when DC sent me this suggestion, my thoughts flew to a time when we used to understand each other in India through translations directly from Indian languages. So I remember my first exposure to Tamil literature was from texts directly translated from Tamil to Malayalam, and popular ones. Like, for example, the Kunkumam Journal used to publish popular science fiction in Tamil, in Malayalam, translated. Or Kannada, for example, for that matter. There was a time when some of us thought that Sri Krishna Alahanalli, for example, would be, it's difficult to call him a not Malayali. So the boundaries of aesthetic enjoyment were quite blurred. And language did not pose a challenge. So, I'm just wondering how many of you share that experience, and is there a way in which we shared a certain common experience of South India through direct translations? And I think it's the translations through English, into English, and through English. It's a second phase, perhaps. So I think it'll be really interesting if you can share your thoughts on each of these phases. So who will go first? And this is just one thing. And Jeyamohan is very special because I think it's through Jeyamohan's writing that some of us had got a sense of the cusp cultures that we belong to. Like, for example, only when I read his work, I remember that I have a Tamil legacy. I come from South Travancore as well, and that is a cusp culture. So it's neither Malayalam nor Tamil really, but a mixture of both, which complicates the idea of linguistic boundaries in the South. So I hope that will trigger so many thoughts. So who will go first? Who will want to speak first? Charu, you will?
Thanks. Since this is calicut, I'll just tell one small incident and then tell this answer to this question. Exactly 525 years back, on this land, where we are all sitting here in the same beach, the translation challenge came into picture. When Vasco da Gama came here, none of them knew Malayalam. Not the question of knowing the Malayalam, they never heard that their language like Malayalam exists. And here, none of them were aware of Portuguese language or Spanish language for that matter. There was a challenge of language translator who is going to translate whatever they speak to Samudri, he's the king of Calicut, in Malayalam, and Malayalam back to him. So that was a major challenge. That is the time really felt like there is someone needed, but surprisingly there was a Spanish person, Arabic person who knew Castilian. That's another language called Castilian. He came as a translator. But the sad thing is, he is an Arab person and he is a competitor to Portuguese. Your own business competitor is a translator for your own business deal. So that was the situation what Vasco da Gama faced on this land exactly 525 years back. So that critical is the translation. Yeah, what she said is right. So in childhood also, we have read a lot of literature which has come from Telugu, especially Telugu, Bengal, West Bengal, we had a lot of them, and we had it from Marathi and Malayalam and Tamil as well. But now, if you look at now, what is happening now, I absolutely don't see any of these language literature coming directly to Kannada. Very rare. Most of them come once they become very popular in English or for whatever the other reasons they have become celebrated. That is what is bothering me. What you can tell in a metaphorical way, previously we Indians were more like a Jambu Dvipa, which is all combined and united together. Now, each state has become one Dvipa, and to connect all these islands, we need English bridge. Without English bridge, we are not able to move to Kannada to Tamil or Kannada to Telugu also. So that's the state we are, which is very bad. Because if I remember whom did I read in Kannada from Malayalam, I can only recall 3 to 4 names. Vaikam Muhammad Bashir, M.T. Vasudev Nair, Kamala Das, or maybe another 1 or 2. Nothing more than that. And to the same case, they take about Krishna Alanahalli, Anant Murthy, and few more, 1 or 2 more. If I ask any contemporary name, do you know any contemporary Kannada writer? No, absolutely no one knows. Neither I know. Only with the English translation, we are able to know, which is very, very sad state. I think we need to change.
I just wanted to ask if English is not an Indian language. I think over the years that has happened, hasn't it? I mean, I agree in the 1950s, yes, there are many Malayali children were named Sharat Chandra after Sharat Chandra, the Bengali author, because he was like a Malayali. We all thought he was Malayali, by the way. But your point is, in a way, English has become, much more widespread than it used to be at one point of time. And we have also Indianized the English. I think, don't you think the translations have kind of Indianized the English all the more? I mean, just a question.
Okay. I would like to say some other things. Can I? I will come to the translation part later. When I started writing at the age of 24 or 25, no one was ready to take my book for the publication. So, for 25 years, I have been publishing my books and selling. I was the publisher. No one was in Tamil Nadu was ready to take my book. For 25 years, I myself published all my novels, books, everything. And I used to sell the most famous novel, 0 Degree, at Shanti Theatre at Mount Road. The theatre was owned by actor Shivaji. I was selling my novel. A person who bought the novel is sitting there after 25 years. So at the age of 50, I got a publisher, my friend, he's a poet, Manishaputran. He started publishing my books, but my books were not at all available. At the age of 65, I got another publisher. She resigned her professor post in the French department in a college, and she and her friend started a publishing house only for publishing my books, 0 Degree Publishing. So at the age of 70, I'm now 70, at the age of 70, I got a publisher, a leading publisher, HarperCollins, who has published my Conversations with Aurangzeb in English. This is the first time. I myself and Jeyamohan are superstars in Tamil milieu. But outside Kerala and Tamil Nadu, I am a nobody. No one knows me. The book signing thing, no? It has become a farce. Total absurdity. No one knows. I went to Bangalore for book signing. HarperCollins has arranged it. I was sitting in 3 bookshops, half an hour. No one turned up because they don't know me. I'm not Vivek Schenberg or I'm not Perumal Murugan. People have to know who is Charu Nivedita. I am a superstar in Tamil Nadu. But these everything I said connected with translation. I have spent some 20 lakhs for my translation. And nobody is there to take this book. No one knows. This marginal man, I wrote it with my blood and guts, with my soul in it. I walked through corpses for writing this novel. Autobiographical, auto-fictional novel. Not a single copy sold because it was published by a local Anna Nagar based publisher, Zero Degree Publishing. He doesn't have any seller, distributor, no distributor. My friend Mark Rapport, editor of Art Review Asia, said, he told me, this doesn't look like a translated work. It looks like someone has written it in English. That kind of a beautiful translation it is. So, what is the use of translation? I'm asking everybody, what is the use? Nobody knows.
Yeah.
I was sitting there for book signing. It was a farce. A long queue was standing, next seat. He's a popular English writer.
No,
I was sitting alone. What is the use?
yeah, I suppose that brings to the fore the question of marketing, visibility, and a lot of issues. So, what would be, because I know, one thing I know about Jeyamohan's work is, it is, at least 100 Simhasanangal is downloadable free on the internet. Hundreds and hundreds of people, I mean, my students, for example, they are a good barometer because they are young, they are much more into visual. I mean, like the young people now, they are far more into the visual medium rather than into the written medium. So imagining is difficult for them. Imagining something in their heads is harder for them. But even that generation is downloading, Jeyamohan's work. Guru Simhasanangal is immensely popular in Kerala, and everybody and a whole bunch have read it on the internet. So you should not, I don't think you should lose hope at all. If there is a copy available on the internet, people will seek it. And the point is, see, books will find their readers. Let me just reassure you. I have books which I have never advertised. I have never had a single ad in Malayalam. There's a book I've written called, from my own research. And remember, it's not even fiction. It's history. And it's called, and this, I just put it's one of the first copyleft books in Malayalam. So it's there on the internet. And, it's gone into 7 editions. We have, 12 printings since 2012. There's been not a single ad. So I'm sure you should never lose, because I felt that you from what you said, you sounded disappointed. I don't think you should be. And like you said, how come? See, the fact that you've been able to cross a barrier, as you rightly said, Malayalis know you so well. Remember, when I first wrote to you, I was so surprised to see that. I said, you are so well known in Kerala, and I think if you ask young people in Kerala to name 10 Tamil writers, your name would be probably in the first 3. So, I think we tend, translation is great, it's important, but sometimes it happens in ways that we don't even know. You began your point by saying that it was hard for you, in a sense, translating the continental literary aesthetics was hard. People did not get it. But that is actually, you were translating that into the Tamil context. It would not come easy. Translation is, like Mini Krishnan likes to say, it's like shooting the arrow through the eye of a bird a second time. So not the first time. You have to shoot it a second time. So I think, I just want you to feel good, in the sense that you should not exaggerate about your situation. You're famous. You're famous in Kerala. That much I know. And this gentleman, of course, I'm seeing him for the first time. I am so privileged because, as I said, in some ways his books connected me back to my own cultural roots. That's another kind of translation, you know. He writes in both Malayalam and Tamil, and he connects these two cultures, and he talks constantly about the cusp culture that existed between Tamil and Malayalam. I remember that because my grandmother, for her, this whole linguistic nationalism did not make any sense. She would keep saying, what Tamil, what Malayali, there's nothing of that kind. You read Halasim, I mean, you only, prayer books are all in Tamil, sorry. No compromise on that. And everyday speech is in Malayalam, so why do you want to call yourself Malayali? So, I mean, I am sorry that I did not take that legacy seriously, because I think it would have made us much richer human beings, you know. I think the importance of crossing linguistic barriers is that we actually become rich as human beings. And it really doesn't matter that the English version hasn't sold. It will sell, in time it will. So just give it a little time. So Jeyamohan sir, can you share your thoughts on these?
I will start from the reference of Vasco da Gama, which Jayendra said. See, when Vasco da Gama arrived in Kerala, the Portugal saw a lot of people dipping in the water in the evening. And he thought they are collecting food in the evening because they are having baths, and the Portugal never have bath in open places. So in almost all Portugal documents, there is a reference that Malabaris used to collect roots from the water for food in the evening. That's their culture. It's a cultural reference. We know that there is no food available in the water. So this is the problem of understanding two different cultures. This problem is still there in Indian context, in English and in regional languages. One of my translators asked me that you wrote that people are sitting in the floor to eat food. So it is very strange. She belongs to an upper class family. She is translating my works. She doesn't know that people used to sit on the ground to have meals. She never saw anything like that. So this is the problem of translating our works into English. And the major problem is a literary text is not a single piece. It cannot be translated without a cultural context. It stands on a cultural context. It has a linguistic context. As you know, the popular quotation, there is no text, only context. But while our works are translated in English, our works are translated in English just as a piece of work, not without that context. There is no discourse on our works in English. So a common English reader cannot understand my works without a proper discourse on the works. There is no connoissance of literature from Tamil to English. So there is no discussion on works. Absolutely there is no discussion. Works are appearing in English and somebody bought it, somebody buying it, and it is over. See what Charu Nivedita said is, his works are being translated in English, but there is no discussion on it. There is no cultural context on it to read that book. That's the problem. There is only two kinds of cultural context available in English already. One is a political context, very popular political ideas. Political correctness, popular political ideas. If a work is translated in English and it has a popular political idea, it can be easily be read. It can be a feminist work, it can be a Dalit work, it can be a marginalized work, anything. If there is an easy label, it can be read. And some kind of academic labels are there. Academic context are there. Some works are being translated in English and read by the academicians only. But a creative work, a real literature work has its own cultural context, its own cultural milieu. If you have to translate a work into English, you have to translate the entire cultural context into English. That's not happening in English. Absolutely, there is no popular literary critics in English. We have a lot of literary critics in English, literary connoisseurs in Tamil. See, Charu Nivedita wrote his works in Tamil, and I wrote a lot of articles on Charu Nivedita. And a lot of people wrote a lot of articles on Charu Nivedita. We published a book on Charu Nivedita, then he can be read by the public. There is no such persons available in English. Everybody writing fiction and non-fiction are not literary criticism. We need very popular literary critics in English who can introduce our works into English reading public. That's the major problem I saw in English reading. Thank you.
I think you have a point there, because I think, in a sense, what you're pointing to is the translator's limited skills. Because I know that many translators come from a background of literary studies. They're usually English scholars or scholars in the local language. But what you are, as you rightly point out, to actually position a work in it, it's like setting a diamond. You're taking a diamond out of an older ornament and setting it. So if you want to set it, you need to make sure that it captures the light perfectly. And sometimes the translator needs to have an in-depth understanding of the socio-historical context in order to make that jewel shine, that diamond shine the best. So I think I take your point very seriously as a translator. Thank you for that. But then let me just ask you about the English. Right now, our route of understanding each other, there was a whole generation, in the 1950s and 60s, who translated not only from the continental literature, but also between Malayalam, Tamil, Telugu, and Kannada. So they had this very deep sensibility of having a command over European languages as well as the local languages, so that a new kind of indigeneity, a sense of indigeneity that was not overshadowed by Indian nationalism, which is of course both High Hindu and North Indian Hindu, both. So you had Ayyappa Panikar and M. Mugundan and JJ, I should not say JJ, Sundar Ramaswamy, Anantapurthy, and many others who came together as a group in the South Indian context to produce an idea of South India which was both indigenous and not narrowly nationalistic or bounded by Indian nationalism. Now, if I were to argue that this upswing in English translation, given the fact that English in translation is suitably Indianized, it's not the British English that we use when we translate our texts. So, would you think that that project is advanced, or do you think that the surfeit of English translations and our reliance on the English to translate something into another South Indian language is a problem? I'd really love to know what all three of you think of it, and would you like to go first?
Yeah, I think I have some statistics I have made based on Indian languages and how many are going into the English, and what is it like. Okay, just 3 slides are there. Just bear with me. Can you start that slide? Can someone start that slide? And I'll explain to you. You please start. Yeah, I have. Is it there? Just 3 slides are there. Okay, I'll give you the summary if it till it comes. Okay, so out of this, in 2022, the total number of books which is translated to English from English publishers is around 93. In 2023, it slightly increased and it is 124. So that is almost like 32 books have been increased in the translation. And what exactly, which are the languages which is really taking the major cake of this pie is, one is Hindi, extensively in the current 2023 I'm taking it up. Hindi is like 22 books have been translated, and Tamil, 29 books have been translated, and Malayalam, 12 books, and Marathi, 8 books, and all other languages are hardly 2, 3 like that. It's nothing more than that, okay? In the same way, if you come to a publisher side, who are the people who are doing the publishing activity for us, okay? So, the maximum number of books which is being published is by Penguin. So, Penguin has published a great number of books. I'll just quickly tell the numbers. Yeah, out of 124, Penguin has published 34 translations, according to my statistics, which is there. 34 books it's translated. Now, HarperCollins has translated around 15 books, okay, 15 books. These two publications have taken a lot of interest in translating the Indian language books, and whereas all other publication houses of India have done 2, 3, 4 like that. But on the other hand, when I look at what has come to Kannada, I don't know about the other languages, what has come to Kannada, getting the statistics is very difficult in Kannada, but I just did 2020 statistics only. So in 2020, we have got around 200 translation to Kannada. Just in much higher than what English has translated and published. It's 200 books. I'm sure now in 2023, it would have been around 300. That means lot of translations is happening. As he said very clearly, maybe the marketing or maybe the promotions of the book, or maybe a noted publisher and the translator quality might be an issue. So that's, we are seeing it consistently. But what really tells me is like, if the translation is not just for reading of the books, you know, so we should not view the translation with a small window of translating the literature alone. It has got much bigger influences on the society. Just one example I give, and I'll transfer the mic. In around 1600 years back, so in say 410 AD, so what happened is there was a person by name Kumarajiva. Has anyone heard his name, Kumarajiva? He was a scholar on Sanskrit, Gandhari, Kuchan, and then even Chinese. And he is the person who translated most of the Buddhist sutras or his scriptures to Chinese. And you know the result of that, it's not whether it is readable or not readable, that's not the question. Because of Kumarajiva, Chinese language got 35,000 additional words to their dictionary. 35,000 additional words, not just one or two. And also, they didn't know that people can write it in this fashion also, like a Sanskrit way they can write. And because of Kumarajiva, who was in 410 AD, because of him, Chinese got a system called pinyin system, through which they read all the Roman script or the Indian languages. Otherwise, they could not have read and pronounced our things at all. 35,000 words have been added by a translator to a language. Just assume it's a noble work. The translation is the best weapon for democracy. So it is going to bring us very close. It is going to increase the humanity. So we all should respect and honor all those who are involved in the translation activity in any form. Either a publisher, writer, translator, reader, whoever you are highly respectable person. So please look translation from much bigger perspective, not with a narrow window of my book getting translated to another language.
Oh, that was a great compliment. Thank you. But I also remember, that scholarship, traditionally, any scholarship always involved a command over multiple languages. So in Kerala, the Christian scholars, the ones, the Catholic scholars of the 18th century, for example, inevitably knew Malayalam, Tamil, Syrian, Portuguese, Italian, you know, the European languages, as well as at least a couple of languages from Kerala, the Syriac, as well as Sanskrit. So that was a fundamental condition for any scholarship, that you should be able to navigate among these scholarship of all these different languages. And I suppose it's time to kind of recover that kind of a cosmopolitanism of thought through translation. So thank you very much. And by the way, if you're asking about translation into Malayalam, enormous. I mean, any Latin American, we are obsessed with Latin American literature, so anything that is rising in the Latin American horizon, unfortunately, it is a market that dictates what is, rising, but that will appear in Malayalam within months. But I have great reservations about the quality of the translations, but people buy it, people are curious about the world. So I think the quality of the translations into Malayalam don't matter much to the buyers, and so the market does not pay much attention to it. That is the sad truth.
Actually, we are worrying too much about English translation. Actually, there is a lot of translation, there is a translation movement naturally going through in our languages. Translating from Malayalam into Tamil is a very natural process, and almost all works of Vaikam Muhammad Bashir, every single word written by Vaikam Muhammad Bashir is available in Tamil. Every single word written by Paul Sakaria is available in Tamil. Every single word written by M.T. Vasudhendra Nair is available in Tamil. They are very popular writers in Tamil. Similarly, from Kannada, Yuvarananda Murthy, S.L. Vairappa, and Hesvarama Karandar, and Masti Venkatesa Iyengar, almost every word written by them in Kannada is actually available in Tamil. And even new generation writers, I translated my friend Vivek Shanbag's short stories into Tamil from English, through English. And T.D. Ramakrishnan is here. Almost every novel of his novel is available in Tamil today. So there is a natural process of translation going on between Indian languages. So we understand other languages, literature from other languages through the translations of National Book Trust and Sahitya Academy. They produced a lot of translation to all other languages. But recently, I came to know that the funds are very reduced to these translation works, and the National Book Trust is almost paralyzed. Sahitya Academy is publishing only few books in a year. But once there was a very big translation movement created by Jawaharlal Nehru and continued for more than 50 years. And they created a lot of works from other languages into Tamil and from Tamil to other languages. We are talking about English language translation only because our younger generation people are reading through English. That's why we need more English translation. That's the major problem.
I want to add the blocks and hurdles in the field of translation. There is a big gap between the elite Tamil, the upper class, and the literary world in Tamil Nadu. Once an elite lady, a lady belongs to that class, translated my work and said, I used the word kaiyadikkirathu. Kaiyadikkirathu means masturbation. She translated it as clasping, clasping hands. So this kind of thing, I wanted to convey the gap between the elites and the literary field. Even Sundar Pichai belongs to, he is a Tamilian. These elites don't know the existence of literature. Recently, I went to a friend's house in Delhi. He showed me his translated works, his novels, two of his novels translated into 20 European languages. There I saw how the Hungarian language looks like, how the Scandinavian languages, Danish language, that language looks like. 20 languages. There is no such thing happening in Tamil Nadu, that is translation from Tamil to any European language, except English. He is 60. Two of his books have been published only now. So I blame it on Tamil elites. No one reads, Devika. No one reads there. Our books are sold, even Jeyamohan and myself, 100 copies, 200 copies. That's all. How can you take it to the... and we cannot compete for Booker Prize, Booker or any award. We have to publish ourselves in London, in UK.
No,
These are the hurdles.
There's one thing I want to stress. Maybe it's not just, it's even deeper, because I think sometimes just look at some of the awarded novels. Huh? So good example, say something, a text like Samskara, or Shamsher Rahman Farooqi's Mirror of Beauty, or K.R. Mira's, Arachar, translated in English as Hangwoman. See, these are hardly novels in the European sense. I mean, they are such layered texts. There are so many layers in each of these texts. So, I mean, you call them because you have this label which is called the genre of the novel. It's like a big catch-all where you can drop everything. All these texts are actually, in the tradition of Indian storytelling, which is like a babushka doll, with layer after layer after layer inserted. And I think that is the one reason that Europeans, the Indian novels, the great novels in the Indian languages, are not translated into the European languages, because it's just too hard. It's not easy at all. And this style of storytelling is something that, for example, you take the Mirror of Beauty. I mean, the description of the central protagonist, that the female, the woman, is so detailed. It's like Keshadi Pada Varnana. And you and I will understand what it is all about, and you will enjoy it, because there is a certain cultural orientation. And it's a kind of, and how our authors twist it, turn it around. It's not some reproducing a Keshadi Pada Varnana in some mechanical way, but they're turning it into something else. And you and I are able to understand and gain pleasure from their innovation of that. But I don't think, you and I have read so much of continental literary theory, come on. By the time we were like 18, we were reading Dostoevsky and, Tolstoy, and then the French existentialists were in college. Which of us didn't read Sartre? And, how many of them have ever heard of Indian or any language, So, Europeans are limited, sorry. I mean, their literary sensibilities are sadly limited by their... So I think we should take pity on them, rather than blaming them for not accepting. And somehow their literary sensibilities are not expansive enough. I think, hell to Booker, I mean, who cares? I mean, the point is, I don't care, because Booker is meant for something that is defined narrowly as the novel. And how they stumble, of course they're changing, clearly. Otherwise the Tomb of Sand would make no sense to them. Again, because it's another novel which is a very Indian style of storytelling. What I fear most, and it's happening to Malayali authors, is that bad imitations of Latin American literature, bad imitations of trauma porn. I'm very scared of trauma porn. There is this habit of picking up the pain of others, whether it's women, whether it's Dalits, whether it's Adivasis, whether it's war, affected populations, and turning it into very pornifying it, so that the reader, and I think in Kerala, trauma porn has a huge readership, partly because people want to read porn very badly, but they're too respectable to read porn. So that this trauma porn is a perfect alternative. you feel that you are doing some social justice by reading about the terrible rapes happening in some war. But then there is also a slightly pornified element which gives you some kind of a twisted pleasure as well. And this is high literature in Malayalam, by the way. And that is coming from these, sources, this indiscriminate translation of Latin American literature, I think, is partly responsible for this kind of pornification. Indiscriminate translation from Europe is also leading to that. So I suppose we have to be, let's not even bother about Booker. We have such a richer tradition of storytelling, which I don't think the European mind with this narrow rationalism can even wrap its head around.
Okay, I want to add one thing to what Jeyamohan said. You name any Malayalam author or Kannada author, we have the translation. There are a lot of translation activities going on in Tamil, but it is not so if you think about Tamils to Kannadam, Tamils to Kannada, not happening. That's the. Our T.D. Ramakrishnan did a great part in translating things from Tamil to Malayalam, but it's not enough. One example I will tell. 0 Degree was published 25 years back. It was written lipogrammatically, but it was not translated into Malayalam, according to that lipogrammatic style. It was translated as normal text. So, where I can go for Kannada 0 Degree, written, translated lipogrammatically.
See,
That's all, my point.
I think I need to be clear. I would like to justify. Each one in its state think that their language books are not going to the another language. Only from other side it is coming so many. So that's what we think. But in Kannada, every year total books which is published is 10,000. And you cannot think of translating 10,000 books to any other language. Which is what can you do like that? But there are so many which comes as a translation also, will not be aware also. In fact, one of my book was translated by someone in Tamil Nadu, and it was selling here, and I didn't even know that has been translated. I came to know only when I saw it in Amazon, it was selling in my name. Oh God, my book, who has translated it? So I started talking to him, who gave you permission, No, I found it very good, sir, so I translated it and I'm selling, don't feel bad, I'll send you complimentary copies. So that's what I got it. See, what is important is people are reading. If you are written a good book, a good thing, and people think it's important to read, they will read. Irrespective of what time you have written that one and what language which you have written. The importance comes maybe down the line, we don't know. If not be now, it might be down the line, it might be coming. So many of the 12th century works which is written in Kannada are becoming more important in 20th century and 21st century in Kannada. They never would have realized that we will read them vachanas, especially Basavana's vachanas and Akamadi vachana. Now we are finding it so important and relevant to our modern times. So you don't know when your books becomes relevant. Let us just write good fiction and do not worry about anything else.
So now we have some time for questions, just maybe 5 minutes or so. We came in a little late, so we have a little more time. So does anyone have a question for the speakers? You have? Over there? Yeah.
I got a question. I am from Tamil Nadu. I read Charu and Jeyamohan a lot. So what I get to know is they are writing an international content, but it's not selling in English. It is not because it is not translatable. It is because they doesn't have the network. I see the writers who writes in English, they has the network of reviewers, network of friends. They used to enhance their books, reviews and everything. So, and our writers like masters like Jeyamohan and Charu Nivedita doesn't have the network to get the books reviewed and published and take it to some other awards. So that is the main reason That is the main problem they are facing. Content-wise, it is seriously international. And
I'll agree. See, what's happening, I'll tell you. When I started writing in Kannada, okay, so my books were getting sold only in the numbers of 5 or 10. That's all. And now I sell at least 1,500 copies of my book every month. Okay. I have been born again in English. I cannot expect in English 1,500 books to be sold with the first book. It cannot happen. I need to have a different life cycle there. I'm still born in English. Someone is translating. It takes another 10, 15 years or 20 years to see the readership there. So we need to wait and be patient for it.
If it is 20 years or 25 years, we can wait. But they take 2,000 years to translate Thiruvalluvar and Sangam literature, and they will take another 2,000 years to translate Charu Nivedita and Jeyamohan. That's what I am scared.
But I must say that the Tamil Nadu Textbook and Educational Service Society is doing a very good job. They are actually making an effort. We had a similar kind of project in the Tunja Tirthachan University, which was killed by the Malayali bureaucrats. In Tamil Nadu, it is thriving, and several books by good translators have been published. Just for the record. So anyone else, you have a question? Yeah.
So since we're talking about basically South Indian context, I would like to ask, if we consider language, I'm not nullifying the fact that other languages has dialects and colloquial terms as well, but when we consider South Indian languages, which has a lot of colloquial terms and dialects, which is untranslatable at certain times. So there is a new idea in literary theory which is coming up as untranslatability, sorry. So I would like to know your take on the same, because while we read certain books, like for example, the book that comes to my mind is Jayasri Kalathal's translation of Misha, where she used certain words, she kept the particular words in particular cultural context to keep the spirit of that particular culture that Misha is talking about. So I would like to know your take on that particular aspect, including Devika ma'am. Thank you.
Now, I think this whole idea of untranslatability is bullshit. You know, there is nothing that can't be translated, sorry. But the problem is the market. I mean, when translation is driven by the market, editors want a book that can be just, it's easy peasy. You get on a flight from Delhi, by the time you reach New York, it should be like in your mouth, in your head, like payasam, like smooth. So this doesn't, because the problem is, the moment the author introduces a demotic, then they are expecting readers to engage with the text in a more intense way. Because a demotic may not be the demotic, for example, in Misha, which is limited to the Kuttanadan area, may not be comprehensible easily to another reader somewhere else. So they have to engage with the text with an intensity that might be missing if the text is in standard language. Now, if you just move it into the standard language and sprinkle it with a few words here and there, that is really not doing justice to the text. I think if you have a demotic, you need to construct another demotic, in English. And that is a challenge, and I don't think the market likes it too much, That's the problem.
Yeah. We have to understand one thing, that these language-based states are created only in 1956, and these frontiers are very artificial and very unnatural. In every frontier, there is a lot of places they are naturally bilingual. For example, Hosur is in Tamil Nadu, and its major language is Kannada. And Kanyakumari district is in Tamil Nadu, the major language is Malayalam. And similarly, Palakkad is in Kerala, and its major language is Tamil. So we have a lot of other culture in our culture. Nearly 30% of people living in Tamil Nadu are speaking Telugu, Urdu, and Kannada. So we know each other very well already. We have a piece of culture inside our culture. In Kannada also, there are a lot of Tamils are living there, particularly in in this area, in South Kannada area near Mysore, Tamil is the major language there. So translation is very natural, and we can find good translators from these areas. So translation is going on a day-to-day basis. A lot of translators are there. See, some people are dedicated to a single author. I have to remember a person, his name is C. Raghavan. He is very dedicated to U.R. Anandamurthy. He lived in Kasargod. He translated almost every word of Anandamurthy into Malayalam. He is a Malayali. And he lived in Kasargod. Kasargod is a Kannada area actually. So there is no problem in translating Kannada into Tamil, into Malayalam. So we have a strong communication with Kannada and Malayalam and Telugu. So that's a natural process. We have no problem with them. But translating something from Oriya or something from Assamese is a different thing. Almost all translations of Assamese, Oriya are coming through in Hindi. They are translated into Hindi, then translated to Tamil. Actually, it is better. Translating into English, then translated to Tamil, there is a big loss. Translating from Oriya into Hindi and then to English, then to Tamil is better, I think. So there is a big translation process is going on within our states, within at least 4 states. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, I'll just add to that. For me, the act of writing itself is a translation. What happens in my mind, I really don't know whether I can put it in proper words or not. I feel like whatever is happening in mind, I'm translating into Kannada and putting it up and trying it with the words. But as far as your question is concerned, see, I'll just give a metaphor for that. I'm a Kannadiga, so I love filter coffee. So for me, drinking any other coffee is very difficult. I just can't handle that. Okay, but when I go to North India, I just can't expect the filter coffee there. At least if someone can give an instant coffee also, that is okay for me, right? That's what becomes the translation. If not, you cannot give the original actually, but at least something nearer to it. Try to taste what it is like. Try to taste what it is like. That is more than enough for me. That is more than enough for me. So that much message conveying is need to be done. Otherwise, most of the challenges of this world or most of the wars are because we are not understanding each other properly with the communication gaps. This communication gaps gets reduced once this translation process happens. No, if each of us can understand the other, it will be much, much easier. I hope, another question for her, like, hope the artificial intelligence reduces the burden of the translation down the line is what I am hoping for. So let us.
Sorry, I'm going to cut in and object. No AI can translate. Sorry, translation is not a mechanical process. Nor is this filter coffee metaphor correct. Sorry, you have to look for what causes. You have to first of all understand the effect that the taste of filter coffee, the kind of emotions and feeling it evokes in your tongue. Then you have to find out what in that other, the other language evokes a similar effect and image and use that and connect the two. That is very difficult. Who said translation is easy? So on that note, translation is very, very, very difficult. Unless you're willing to slog and, risk yourself, do not try. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. We now express our deepest gratitude to each of the speakers and moderator Devika for conducting such a fruitful session on the immense possibilities of translation in a South Indian context. And also to quote Mr. Vasudhendra, let's all look at translation from a much wider, a large-scale perspective. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody.